So as we all know, the Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever is set for a release on July the 8th, 2022. But bear in mind, it has not even started production as of yet, so the question is, what's the plot, who's the villain, and what year are we even going to be set in? Now, grab yourself a snack, sit back, and put some headphones in, open up a new tab, whatever you gotta do, because we're gonna be diving into these topics because, well, Marvel have officially gone ahead and revealed a synopsis, and also it's probably going to take you back by some sort of surprise, I guess you could say, because this could potentially be very, very big. Now, I do want to say I know a lot of people do have concerns for this movie, so if you are one of those people, what are you kind of worried about for this movie? Let me know in the comment section below, but let's dive into this. So, Marvel Studios officially revealed the synopsis, which is, and I quote, "Black Panther Wakanda Forever will continue to explore the incomparable world of Wakanda and all of the rich and varied characters introduced in the first film. Written and directed by Ryan Coogler, who was behind Black Panther, the film will be released on July 8th, 2022. So, of course, as always, it's simply a short teaser. But now there are so many questions in general, like I said. What's the plot of this movie? Who's the villain? And what's going on with the character in general being T'Challa? Now, it has officially been confirmed that the sequel will honor the legacy of Chadwick Boseman and won't recast the role of T'Challa, which I think is a great move on Marvel's end, because we already know they had to honor Chadwick Boseman in the best way possible, but also there was kind of that worry where it might not just be a situation of them attempting to recast the role for T'Challa, but also the fact that they could do some sort of CGI work or have a digital double in the sequel, which has now been confirmed that there are no plans to do that at all. So I think hats off to Marvel, that's a great choice to make and ultimately the best possible path to go down in my opinion. But now this is where, of course, it leads to the path of, okay, what is going to be the plot, what's going to be with the story, and will this character ever return? Now, to kind of debunk that, I want to throw it out there. I do think, like I said, this is the best way to close the story for T'Challa, and I think that's going to be the scenario. Because first of all, Kevin did state, and again I quote, "So much of the comics and that the first movie is the world of Wakanda. Wakanda is a place to further explore with characters and different subcultures. This was always and initially the primary focus of the next story. We are not going to have a CG Chadwick, and we are not going to be recasting T'Challa." So like I said, we already knew that, but now that's just officially been said by the producer himself. Now, there still has been no official comment from Marvel, or I guess any sort of reporting so far when it comes down to the castings as of now. But that also being said, when we go back to December of 2020, I believe it was the Disney Investor Day, it was actually confirmed that the sequel would explore, and I quote, "all of the rich and varied characters." Now that, of course, is what they stated in the synopsis as well the other day. Now, that's all coming from the first movie, bear in mind. Now, when it comes down to the villain, and we will talk Killmonger, etc., it has been stated, and this is quite interesting, that we could well be seeing him in some form of flashbacks, although I guess it's still really hard to say. Now, if I had to be brutally honest, I mean, sure, it sounds cool, it'd definitely be interesting to kind of see how they go with that, but I don't really think that would be the best way to go in my opinion. It really kind of becomes a situation of further exploring Wakanda, which is what I'm going to say in a second when it comes down to the plot, and ultimately introducing a brand new villain. So the question, what is the plot? Now, a while back, the Black Panther director, as I mentioned earlier, Ryan Coogler, stated, and this is really interesting because this is going a while back, like I said. Now, his exact words were, and I quote, "I'd be really interested to see, you know, what kind of king he is with his experience and how that affects his performance in the stories." But again, we know at that point he's talking about T'Challa, and we know there's going to be no recast, but That also being said, when we talk about the location, which again we kind of have some sort of indication of, it was also teased that it could go way back in time, back to 1938. Now this actually comes in from Kevin, who had hinted that he wanted to explore more of the Wakandan history in the sequel, which could be a route to go down if they wanted to make it a prequel instead. Now what he said is, towards the end of the movie, as we know, T'Challa takes the herb again and encounters his father, where he's essentially like, hey man, we've kind of screwed up and I want to change it. Now there's that moment at that point in the film where all of the ancestors come behind T'Chaka, where, you know, we would joke and go, I want to see what's their story, what's that story, or who was Bazenga, the first king of Wakanda? Who's that third to the left behind T'Chaka? Or what was their story in Wakanda in 1938? That would be so cool. And it all starts as a conversation like that. The more the audience wants to see these stories, the more opportunities we have to further explore different places and essentially the time as well. And well, that is ultimately what it seems like we're going to be experiencing at this time. It's essentially going back into the Wakanda history and really understanding the origins behind that. And essentially, I guess it's almost going to be now that it could just essentially keep going back in time as opposed to going forward, which kind of would be interesting. Now, what's also interesting, there's been like theories saying, you know, why Black Panther sequel should be Wakanda versus the Avengers, etc, etc. And although that can kind of work, I still don't believe that would be the right way to do it. And again, all I'm thinking of is like the perspective of a fan, right? Like, what would we really want to see in this movie to actually then just consistently keep going on, but at the same time we're not recasting the same character purely out of respect to Chadwick Boseman, and also it just wouldn't feel right at all. Let's be completely honest, it just would never be the same at this point, at least in my opinion as well. I don't think there's any point just recasting a character, even doing CGI like a digital double, whatever it may be, just to kind of do it for the sake of it. At least that's my 2 cents on that topic anyway. So maybe if we're kind of working back in time and seeing the origin of Wakanda, seeing the, you know, story with the ancestors, and ultimately getting a new villain as well, and really understanding that, that's where I think it could work well. That is what I think would be very interesting, and ultimately understanding that universe a little bit more better, I guess you could say. But guys, leave your thoughts on this in the comment section below, and that's going to wrap up this video here. Now, if you want to leave your ideas, go ahead, by all means, put it in the comments below, because I'd love to feature some ideas and theories that you guys have in the next video as well. But as far as seeing some sort of teaser now again for this movie, it will more than likely be towards the end of this year when it comes down to like a snippet or whatever it may be in terms of a location. But guys, I'll see you in the next one. Till then, have yourselves a ridiculously amazing day, and adios amigos.